In this session today, it's actually the second in a series that I'm presenting this month. I call it Befriending Backbends, meaning that I'm teaching backbends in a way that I hope is enjoyable, but also a safe way, and helps people understand them a little bit better from their anatomy. So I thought, as an incentive for today's session, I would read a little bit about the benefits of doing backbends. And I found this really great book that I'm going to be reading from. Backbends stimulate the nervous system, open up the chest, and correct stooped shoulders. They can help people who suffer from asthma and are excellent for alleviating depression or even dispelling a case of doldrums. But backbends work best if you've strengthened the muscles in your legs and in your buttocks. So we'll be working particularly with that in today's session. If you want to warm up well, do standing poses first, or Surya Namaskar, salute to the sun, and then that will help you better open your chest and get your breathing going. And as a counter pose, you could finish a sequence of back bends with a spinal twist or some forward bends. So having said that, let's do a standing version, a simple version of Surya Namaskar, back on the mat. This is a way of doing breathing and warming up the upper body, and just a reminder of a few things that are important in any warm-up session. So interlock your hands, bend your elbows, bring your knuckles underneath your chin, and get drawn up to your full height. Take an inhalation there. Exhalation, arms forward and pushing out through your palms. Inhalation, bring your arms up again. Exhalation, release your hands, bring them all the way behind you. Interlock your hands. And exhalation, throw your shoulders back, squeeze your shoulder blades. And then we're going to go again. Inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, reaching, lengthening. Inhaling, shoulders back. Exhale, release. Let's go 2 more rounds. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Squeeze your shoulders and then open up your chest. Inhale, exhale. And in your own breath rhythm this time, and then letting all of that go. And we'll move on to 3 poses that I use to warm up the body more generally. So take a lying down position on your mat. On your back, legs bent and feet on the floor near to your buttocks. And snuggle your base of your spine into the mat. Bring your chin down a little bit. And Apanasana, or in and out poses, with your knees close to your chest now. So as you've lifted your feet off the floor and thighs come in towards your ribs, exhale. Inhale, move your knees out. Exhale, a squeezy kind of movement for the abdominal muscles. Inhale, fully opening up your chest. About 10 of these is a good number in this in and out cycle. And something else that you can do just to make yourself a little bit more present to what's going on through your body is as you bring your knees in towards you, move your sitting bones towards the floor. You release from that as you inhale and move your knees out. And exhale, sitting bones down will help you preserve your lower back natural arch. Maybe take time to feel that in your own body. And I've lost count. It's very hard to keep count while I'm talking. So 2 more, let's say. It stimulates your digestion and the organs of elimination. So finishing those exercises, feet back on the floor, arms out to your side, a little bit away from your body, and your shoulders relaxed. All right, knees to chest again. Hold at the front of your knees where your patellas are, and then just some slow circling through the knees and keeping the back of the body connected to the floor. So feel where your shoulder blades are. These are small movements that I'm doing just so that I don't feel like I'm tipping radically to one side and the other. And then let's go the other way. That same kind of holding or grounding through the upper part of your back, through your shoulder blades. And then separate your knees a little bit and then circling your knees in. And let's go the other way, circling your knees out. And giving an opportunity to warm up through the pelvis and the hips. All right, and then back to ground, 2 feet on the ground, arms out to the side. Pause. Those pauses just let you come back to yourself in case you were doing whatever movements we do in a perfunctory way. And then separate your feet as wide as the mat. Allow the knees to drop to the right side, and then let your head loll around to the left side. Let's go the other way. Knees up first, knees to the left, look right. And then let's repeat that simple movement. And all of the while that I do this, it's with the breath. So exhaling to the side, inhaling to bring the knees up. And I'm going to do just 2 more of these in a slightly different way. So as you take your knees to the right, extend your left arm overhead along the floor. Tuck your chin in towards your collarbone and give yourself an opportunity, and this is good for leading into back bends, to open up that left side of your body, a lateral stretch. And then let's reverse, and the left arm comes back by your side, the right arm overhead alongside your ear, knees to the left, and opening up that right side of your body in a long stretch. And then back to center. Actually, stay on that side, and then if you just keep rolling over onto the left side, you can come up to standing, and we'll continue. And I have a little, figure that was given to me from the United States. And this is yes, it's a skeleton, but it illustrates really well what some people do in backbends, for instance, like camel pose or ustrasana. And this poor figure, he has worse problems than what he's doing to his neck. But what do we call that? Cranking your neck or creaking your neck back. So if together in the seated position that you're in, you bring your interlocked hands around to the base of your skull, and just let your head be cradled into your hands. It's such a nice feeling, just allowing the head to rest there like that. And then from there, if you lift your elbows a little bit and extend through the armpits, and then just a gentle lengthening through the back of your neck. And you might want to lean back into the cradle that your hands make. And that's pretty good for a backbending movement. And then coming upright and releasing that. So as we do the floor backbends a little bit later, you might remember that sensation and file it away in your muscle memory. The other thing I want to emphasize is that often when we're doing those floor backbends, we end up hunching the shoulders. And everybody knows what shoulder hunching is like. It's pretty uncomfortable. So we're taught early on in yoga classes to keep the shoulders passive. However, if you bring your arms up, and bring your arms up as I'm doing, then that sort of begins that, it's almost an instinct. You lift your shoulders when you lift your arms. But you, in fact, can keep your shoulders down. I call this your inner shoulders near to your neck, and still get a nice extension through your arms. So see if you can feel that elongation that you get from just using your arms, and especially the outside of your arms near to your shoulder blades, and even your shoulder blades. Let's do that one more time. So bring your arms down, and inhale and bring the arms up. Just so that you know the contrast, hunch your shoulders, drop your shoulders with a thud, and then get the extension of your arms through the outer arms and the outer shoulder blades. Beautiful. And then release your arms down. So we could take that into a dog pose now, which is what we were doing, but in a different plane. So come back onto your mat. And let's start from kneeling. And when you've placed your hands onto the mat, take a moment, open the spacing between your fingers. And I think a friend and colleague of Libby's and mine calls this starfish hands, where your spacing is equal between your fingers and also your index finger and your thumb. And then ground your fingers, the back of your knuckles. And in the kneeling position, lift your spine up towards the ceiling. And that's without hunching your shoulders. So with a round back, coil your feet, have the tuck your toes under, and then do a push off and lift yourself up into our familiar downward facing dog pose, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And let's start easy. So step your feet as wide as the mat. Little toes are on the edge of the mat. And even the hands a little bit wider too. Little fingers on the edge of the mat. Soften the elbows slightly. Soften the backs of the knees. And then, as much as you can, stretch from the front of your ankle back into your heels. Give the backs of your legs a good stretch. In a wide position, then it's a little bit kinder to your hamstrings. Hamstrings being at the back of your knee to your buttock. All right, stay in dog pose if you can, or take a rest in between kneeling, and then move your hands into the more classic position, so in line with your shoulders. Same thing with your feet, and take a little time and pedal your feet. One heel down, other heel down. And creating for yourself a nice rocking feeling through the lower part of your back. Maybe it ripples up into your mid-spine, your upper spine. And pace yourself, go a little bit more quickly or as slow as you like. I tend to like slow. And then when you pause and you've stopped that movement, let's take a rest and come down and knees down. And maybe fold your hips back to child's pose. Dhanurasana. Keep your elbows up, but let your buttocks move back just as much as they're ready to in that flexion at the moment. Don't force it. All right, one more variation for the dog pose. Come forward, and as you have lifted your hips off of your heels, tuck your toes under, round your back with a powerful push into your hands, lift up your knees, and downward facing dog pose. Let's work with your shoulders and warm up your shoulders a little bit by flexing your knees. And now you're on the backs of the toes, feet perpendicular to the floor, and lengthen through the spinal column, including the back of your neck. And see if you can incorporate here the movement of the arm stretch. As I said, you're in a different plane now, and lengthen the outer arms, the outer shoulder blades. Keep your knees in that slight bend, and as much as you can, rake your hips up towards the ceiling. Beautiful. We're not coming down this time, but as you take a step forward, walk a little forward, or walk the hands back a little bit. Keep your knees bent, keep your buttocks back, and then very slowly, head comes up last, all the way to standing, and all the way up. Right, well, let's continue with the theme of strengthening the legs, which we do in downward facing dog pose, but through the standing poses. So take a standing position on your mat in the middle and facing the long end of your mat. No earbuds. Okay. All right, and as you're standing, take a little distance between your feet. And I'm going to pause for a moment.
How can you hear?
Just a little technical glitch here. Okay, so standing with your feet just a little bit apart, and take time. Allow yourself to settle into your feet. And create a feeling through the soles of your feet, of your whole footprint. So your forefoot, the backs of your toes, the circumference of your heels. And often we pick a few points to focus on in standing on your feet. So let's say the base of your big toe, the base of your little toe, and the front of your heel. Release any clenching through the buttocks. And allow the shoulders to relax and drop out. And take a little time there. Sometimes it takes that time just to connect with the feet. Keep the backs of the knees a little softer. And in Tadasana, make a slight space between the upper arms and the upper ribs. And the corners of the chest opening out. Beautiful. And from Tadasana, let's step out wide. And turn your feet to the right. pause there. Raise your arms out at shoulder height and out to the side. And just so that we remember the feeling, shrug your shoulders up and then let them drop down and roll down comfortably. Good. As you extend the arms out to the side, you might press down through the palms so that your upper arms and your upper, your shoulder blades are activated too. And for triangle pose, Trikonasana, extend out over your right leg and just slowly, and still feel those 3 points of your left foot. Left foot, big toe, little toe, and in front of the heel. And drop your right hand down, extend your left arm up towards the ceiling. Good. So just a really gentle lateral stretch. And to elongate the spine, keep the weight back into the left leg. Keep it strong. Keep your footing. And then just telescope your torso a little bit further to the right side, over your right leg. On an inhalation, bring yourself back up. Turn your feet forward and feet to the left. Good. So we'll work a little bit more as we go into this, and we'll repeat it on the leg muscles. So extend out towards the left side. Keep the right foot and the right leg strong, and bring the left hand down to your left leg, right arm up towards the ceiling. Take a few breaths there, make yourself comfortable in the pose, and then work it a little bit more to extend the spinal column a little bit further to the left side. Feel a strong footing through your right foot and let that bring you up. Inhale and come all the way up. Once more to the right side, Trikonasana. Take your time. Beautiful. And then pause there for a moment and let's stimulate the leg muscles a little bit more by drawing the right buttock in. The right buttock rolls down and the buttock muscles are energized. And feel into your left leg, almost like an hourglass that's filling with sand, and feel that leg strong from the left hip into the left foot. Inhale and come up, and feet to the front. Let's turn to the left. Before you go on to the left side, just shrug your shoulders again, drop them, and then extend out over that left leg. And right arm up towards the ceiling. Pause there again, and then a strong right leg down into your lower leg, into your footing, your right foot, and then draw the left buttock in slightly. Feel the outer left thigh coming into the bone. Relax those shoulders. And inhale and come up, and feet to the front, and stepping right in. Good. All right, for the next couple of poses, take your block, your foam block, and step out wide again. And initially just keep the block in front of your mat, on the floor in front of the mat. And then let's raise the arms out to the side in anticipation of Warrior Two pose, Virabhadrasana 2. And turn your feet to the right. Good. Reaching out towards the side walls of whatever space you're in, and pressing down lightly through the hands and shoulders down. Bend your right leg. Actually take a few bends and straightens. So you see the potential there for the knee gliding. And moving with ease. And then let's take the static position with the right leg bent. And lift and open the corners of your chest and look over your right arm. And in this pose, let's work a little bit more with the upper part of your back and bring, just to make your chest parallel, bring the right shoulder blade forward. Feel the potential of those back muscles. Draw the right buttock in. Even breathing. And actually we're going to move on to Parsvakonasana and take the block. So grab hold of the block and place it on the outside of your right ankle. It's up to you on the high end or the low end. I'm going to start high. Whoops. Come back to the bent leg position, right knee above your right ankle. And then extend out over your right thigh like you did in Trikonasana. Bring your right hand down onto the block. Your left arm just straight up towards the ceiling is plenty initially. And then fill out your left leg from your hip to your foot. So that left leg is strong. And then let's take the arm extension and the left arm overhead. And still connected with the left leg. Roll your shoulders down from your neck. Easy breathing. All right, and then make that back leg strong. Feel the 3 points that I mentioned. Big toe, little toe, front of your heel. Inhale and come up. Turn your feet forward and to the left side. You can stack up the block there as you like. And then the first part is Virabhadrasana 2. So adjust your position so that your shoulders square with the long end of your mat, and then arms out to the side. Shrug your shoulders, drop your shoulders, press down through your palms, bend your left leg. Lovely. Pause. Feel like the left knee is being drawn back into the hip, so it's well connected there. And then the right leg strong right down into your foot. And then look over your shoulder to the left side if you haven't done that. And still press down a little bit with your palms. And then working with the upper part of your back on this left side, bring the left shoulder blade forward. Bring the left buttock forward. All right, let's move on. Extend over the left leg. Bring the left hand down onto the block. The right arm up towards the ceiling. Get a nice cross stretch, arm to arm. Feel into your back leg and then extend your right arm overhead. Tuck your chin into your armpit if that feels like it's a safe movement for your neck. And then coming up from the back leg, take your block with you. Inhale and come up, and feet to the center. And step back into Tadasana. Feet are slightly apart. Let your arms hang loosely from your shoulders. Give your arms and your wrists and your hands a little bit of a shake out. Notice if your buttocks have tightened up around the tailbone, and keep the buttocks energized but not tight. All right, and then we'll just do one more pose here, and it's a very good lead-in to doing some floor back bends, and that is Warrior One pose. So step out, not quite so wide perhaps as you did in the previous open hip position. And then turn towards the right leg. And turn your feet, turn your head, turn your chest. Pause there for a moment. Adjust your hips so that they square with that short end of your mat now. And then lean back a little bit into your back leg. What does that feel like? Does that create that sensation of filling out the leg? It does for me. So from hip, knee, heel, that back leg is strong. Then, at the same time as you raise your arms, bend your front knee. Inhale, raise your arms up. And then, just because we can, shrug your shoulders up and then drop them down. Feel that the arms extend. I've got my arms slightly separated, but you can have your palms together if you like. Feel as you extend the arms that that's coming from the outer arm to the outer elbow, or even from the outer shoulder blades. And then, like we did in the demonstration with the little figure, lift your chin slightly, as though you've cupped your hands behind your head. Look upwards. So it might be that you're just lifting your gaze. Take a couple of breaths there. The chest is high, a slight lean back into the back leg for your back bend. And then straightening that front leg, lower your arms, bring your hands to your hips, and then spin and turn exactly around to the other side. Settle. There's a little space between the tops of your thighs that gives you more stability and strength, so the feet slightly apart. And then lean into the back leg. Which are the muscles that switch on there? I can feel that buttock muscle, the back of the thigh, the hamstrings. And that's really good preparation for the floor back bends. And we're ready to move now. And at the same time as you bend the front leg, raise the arms up. Good. You're reaching for the ceiling, and then you can do the same thing with your gaze. So looking up, the back of the neck long, easy breathing, and still that little attention to the back leg buttock, hamstrings. Right, and then feel your footing, strong footing as you come up. Press into your footprints, lower your arms, straighten your legs, and turn to the front. All right, let's take just a gentle forward bend in Prasarita Padottanasana, forward fold. Rest your hands onto the upright block, and it's out at a little distance to you. And we can take this as a kind of wide leg dog pose. So your feet a little bit wider than they've been for this other standing poses. And then nudge your block out a little further. And as you lean in towards the block, do that from the top of your chest. So keep your breastplate high and move forward there. Notice if your shoulders are slightly elevated, and roll your shoulders down. And feel the corners of your chest where your collarbones end. Sometimes they're a little bit shy and receding, and bring them forward and up. Strong legs again. Big toe, little toe, front of the heel. Feel into those points, and they'll help stimulate and strengthen your legs. All right, and then toe, heel, bring your feet in and release from the block and inhale and come up all the way. It just occurred to me, I didn't have this in the sequence, that it might be a really helpful movement to do one more standing pose, which is a lateral and a rotational stretch. So step out wide again, if you will. I didn't have this in the sequence, but it is now. And forward fold from the tops of your thighs. And just bring your right hand onto the block and bring it in closer to you so it's right underneath your torso. Right hand heel onto the top of the block on the high end. Bring the left hand onto your hip. And then turn to look to the right side. And without doing anything special at this point, just bring the right shoulder back, the right elbow back. Good. And then let's reverse. And left hand is the supporting hand, right hip, and turning. And just that simple movement, you're looking over that direction, and then roll the shoulder back, roll the elbow back. And you've created a nice warm up for what's to come, and then let's repeat it, and supporting and turning to the right side. And then this time, if you feel prepared to do it, extend up the right arm towards the ceiling, reach for the ceiling. Beautiful. And cast your gaze upwards if that feels like a safe neck movement for you. And feel the side body elongating and the rotation through your upper spine. And then let's reverse. One more round, supporting with your hand onto the block, and perhaps ready now to extend up the arm. If you're finding that too strong, or the movement's blocked in some way, keep your hand onto your hip, and it's a fine movement just to roll the shoulder back, just to take the elbow back. Right, and then back to two hands supporting on the block. Lift your chest again and shuffle your feet in. And inhale and roll up. Good. So let's take some bridges as a part of our backbend sequence, and lying on your back with your legs bent and your feet on the floor. I'm keeping hold of my block. And let's place the block between the thighs just above the knees. It's up to you. You can have it medium range or the narrow range. I've got it narrow. And then feel what it feels like just to place the block there and press lightly against it. A really kind of a wake-up movement starts to happen with the thighs and the hips when you stimulate those inside leg muscles, the adductor muscles. And feel where your feet are placed, that your weight's on the big toe and the inner heel, perhaps a little bit more than the outside of the foot. And then merely from there, tilt your pelvis and lift your tailbone slightly off the floor. And then go the other way and bring your buttocks back down. And tilt your tailbone away from you. Notice what happens in the relationship with your pelvis when you do those really simple movements. Let's do them on repetition. Pelvic tilt, one way and then the other way. And I have a habit of clenching my buttocks towards my tailbone. So I just give a little bit of time to release from that habit. And where I'm lifting from is from the outside of my hips. So with that little tiny pelvic tilt, let's see if we can increase the lift. And lifting from the glute medius or the outer hips, without that need to tighten around the coccyx. Okay, good. And then rest completely. So very gentle warm up for your lower back. Keep your arms at a little distance from the sides of your body so you've got plenty of space for the sides of your lungs and easy breathing. And then start with your palms facing the floor. And let's do another lift off as you've done with your buttocks tucking under, pelvic tilt, and coming up the spine a bit towards your shoulder blades. And then roll your arms out. Roll your upper arms out near to your shoulders and feel the corners of your chest open. Pressing against the block, rolling down again. I've already started tightening my tailbone, so coming down gently. And repeating that movement, so find a nice rhythm for your breath with this. can't see it probably in the position that you're in, but as you come up into your small bridge and the shoulders are open, then when you return to the ground, turn your palms down again and ground completely. As you come up, the pubic bone not lifting quite so high as the outer hips. Keep the weight on the inside of your feet. And then just one more time, lowering down. And when you touch down, rest completely. Notice if there's any residual tension and let it go. And then let's add a variation here for the bridge. Bring your feet in very close to your heels very close to your buttocks, and then lift your heels up. So be on the backs of your toes. This is a really good strengthening movement for your toes as well. So your heels are up, your feet coming down from the inside. So big toe pressing down, and then try your bridge again, lifting up. As you're at your lift in the back bend, in the little back bend, then hold that lift and palpate, touch the backs of your thighs, and feel where your muscles have switched on to get you that lift. So your hamstrings have had to tighten. And now we're going to come back down to the ground. And keep your heels up, but just palpate again and feel how the hamstrings can release when you're at rest. So let's see if we can get something like a hydraulic lift from the hamstrings switching on. Keep your weight towards the big toe pressing down and lift up. Release any tension around the coccyx and lift from the outer hips. And then lowering down to the ground again and rolling all the way down to the base and sacrum. Very nice. And then just 2 feet on the floor again. So you've got a little self-education, a little feeling for the hamstrings. Let's use them with a one-legged bridge. So bend your right knee into your chest, turn your right knee out, and place your right foot on your left thigh. We use this oftentimes as an outer hip stretch. So we're going to move on from this position and keep your weight strongly into your left foot. Feel your footing there, your footprint. Notice if you've rocked over to the right side and bring your pelvis back to center. And then as you press into your footprint, lift the buttocks a little bit. Come up a little bit. And I can feel really strong work for my left hamstrings as I do this. And then rolling back down to the ground. Let's do that one more time. So lifting from the outer hips again and keeping the hips level as you can as you press into your footprint and lift up. And rolling down to the ground. So you might feel that's quite a good workout for that set of muscles at the backs of your thighs. And that's a good thing because they help you do your floor back bends, which we'll do in a moment. And right foot on the floor. And lift your left foot. Turn your left knee out. Place your left foot onto your right thigh. I've got mine about in the middle of that thigh. And then rock back to center so your 2 hips are even. And on a inhalation coming up. And it's like that. It's like a hydraulic lift from the right buttock here and the right hamstring. And lowering down again. Fully resting. And give it another go. And what you might notice along the way, because it's so interesting what the body gets up to, is I know that my hamstrings are weaker on this side. I can even palpate and feel that. And then coming back down. What does that mean? Maybe I need to do this more just on my right side. and then 2 feet on the floor. Good work. And then bend one knee in, the other knee in, and give yourself a nice warm hug, holding your legs. All right, and then merely turn over, so flip over onto face down position on your mat. And let's start like this. So we call this Sphinx pose, where you're resting on your elbows, your forearms, and your hands. And of course, you have already put yourself into a slight back bend. So we want to just warm up a little bit with the lower part of your back. And we're going to look back towards your right foot. So rotating head and shoulders, looking back towards your right foot. And then balancing it, looking at your left foot. There's a hip sway that goes along with this. A little rocking through the pelvis, going back and forth. I don't know, the image of a mother lizard came to me. And she's looking back at her brood of baby lizards that are behind her. And I have no idea if lizards work like that, but it just came to me. If you like, and you like that movement, then go a little bit more quickly. A little more rocking through the pelvis. Beautiful. And then let's bring that to a halt and come down to rest your head onto your folded hands. So elbows out to the side and just pausing. Give your hips a little bit of a shake, the buttocks loose, and feel what that sensation is like when the buttocks are relaxed. Bring your legs near to each other or all the way in. And we'll come back to Sphinx pose, so back up onto your elbows. When you look at your arms, your elbows are directly underneath your shoulders. So they're close into you. And then starfish hands. And as though you're going to pull your hands, your fingers, your elbows back towards your waist. Feel what that sensation is like. Notice if you've started clenching your buttocks a little bit and release them again. And here, see if you can keep the outer hips towards the floor. And press your breastplate forward. And as you lift your gaze up, you might want to tilt your chin up. And then we're just avoiding that cranking of the neck. So looking out towards the horizon, pressing your chest forward, outer hips down. And then come down back to rest. And that's enough of a rest, and then back onto your elbows. And Sphinx position for your arms, and drawing the elbows back. Right? And as you press the breastplate forward, feel where that movement comes from. It's from your shoulder blades, partially, and your shoulder blades pressing towards your lungs. So the opposite of rounding your back. And then feel your legs strengthen, and press the tops of your feet down, or the tops of your toes down, until you can lift your knees a little bit off the floor and switch on those hamstrings from the back of your knees to your buttocks. Beautiful. And then come down from your little back bend. Take pause again. And let's move to Shalabhasana, the Locust Pose. And have your arms out straight in front of you, but at a distance. So the position I'm in is my hands are as wide as the mat. Tuck your chin in and rest on your forehead or rest on your chin. And then lengthen, elongate the whole spinal column. So tailbone moving away from you. And the upper part of the spine, the neck, moving towards the head. And then lift your head a little bit. Look out towards the horizon again and create that sensation of drawing the hands back. They're not moving, but you're moving back from your upper arm into your shoulder. The head is up, chest is up. We're just going to lift one leg. And right leg, as you lift it up, press your left leg and lift just the leg and not the front of your right hip. Inner right leg lifting a little bit more than the outer leg, and feel the hamstrings, feel the buttock, and then rest that leg down. When it's resting, it's completely resting. Let go of any residual tension. Once more, lifting the chest up if you rested in between, and then looking out towards the horizon, raise the left leg. Feel your left leg internally rotated, turning inside of the leg, lifting more than the outside of the leg. The right leg is anchored and pressing down. Okay, and then rest that leg, fold your arms, rest your forehead on your hands or turn your head to the side, and pause. And just as a little interlude, bend your legs and have your knees and your feet slightly apart, and then circle your feet. You might hear a little crackling in my one ankle particularly, and then the other circle the other way. Good. And then let's move on to a more classical Shalabhasana. So bring your arms back alongside your legs. Rest on your forehead, rest on your chin or your forehead. And then lengthen the upper part of the spine towards your head. Move your tailbone back towards your heels. And then feel your head and shoulders start to lift as you press your hands down. And looking out towards the horizon again. Good. We're going to raise the legs as well, both legs this time, and feel the hamstrings switch on, the buttock muscles switch on, and legs lift up. Keeping the pubic bone down, the outer hips down, and lift up as much as you're prepared to at this time. And then add the arm movement if you're ready, or have your hands on the floor supporting you. But if you've lifted your arms, they only lift as high as your hips, and then stretch your fingers back and coming down, and fold your arms and rest your head onto your hands again. Take a couple of quiet breaths and rock a little bit through your hips. We're going to rock up to child's pose. So lift your head, lift your shoulders, and bring your hips back. Because you're moving from back bend to forward bend, you don't have to bring your hips all the way back. You could just pause in a kind of elbow cat pose. Or if it feels nice for a back stretch, then draw your hips all the way back to your heels. All right, and then let's just add one more small back bend here, and that is dhanurasana, the bow pose. So from your face down movement, and just relax there, stretched out, then bend your right leg so your heel comes towards your right buttock. And particularly the right heel towards the outer right buttock. And then reach your right hand back and hold at the front of your ankle. You can always catch your foot with a belt if you're not reaching your front ankle easily. But I think we've all managed that. And then pause there. Even with that small movement, you can distort your hips. So keep your hip bones equally pressing into the mat, and then flex your right foot, draw the toes down towards the knee, and then balance on your left forearm, so the left arm is across the front of the body, even with the short end of the mat, and then press down your palm, press down your forearm, and start to lift up. The head comes up, chest comes up, and then lift your right knee up. See if you can do that, releasing the front of the thigh from the hip to the knee and switching on the hamstrings at the back of the knee to the buttock. And the buttock is strong. Beautiful. And one half of the bow complete, and rest that right leg back. Balance on your right arm. Pause there. Head and shoulders are up. And then lift your left heel towards your left buttock, towards the outer buttock, and reach left hand back to hold the front of the ankle. Good. Use a belt if that shoulder movement is not the best for you, and you can use it as an arm extender. And then from here, we're lifting, pressing down at the top of the right foot and slowly lifting the left knee. Think how helpful it is for you to create a release there. So putting your attention on the front of the left knee, the quadricep, and stretching from hip to knee, and then drawing the left hamstrings, kind of like a guide wire from the back of the knee to the buttock, and then lowering down. All right, well, we'll complete that pose in just a moment. Or if you need, for the sake of your back, just to rest, then lie out flat on your mat for the next part, or come into child's pose. Otherwise, we continue and we do the full bow. Bend your right leg, bend your left leg. Reach back and hold the front of the ankle. I think I forgot to say it on the left side, but flex your both feet. And then as you're ready, without cranking your neck, just looking out in front of you, straight in front of you, lift your head, lift your chest, lift your knees. Switch on your shoulder blades and contract them so they move towards the spine as you lift up. And you've done well there, and come down and allow the legs just to flop back behind you. Ready to lift up and fold back into either that forearm balance, cat pose, or bringing your buttocks all the way back into child's pose. Notice if there's a tiny bit of leftover tension in your shoulders or in your back muscles, and find a way. And perhaps you can rest your head onto your hands or rest your forehead onto a block to let your upper back muscles broaden and your shoulders to drop out. And if we're prepared to move now, we'll do some counter posing to the back bends. So bring yourself up to standing position. And I hope you have a wall space near to you. This works well. You can do it without a wall, but it's more comfortable, and we want to aim for release now. To have the wall to rest your buttocks on. So I'm standing at my wall space with my buttocks and the back of my torso at the wall, and I'm stepping out about 35 centimeters or 40 centimeters away from the wall. Rest your hands onto your thighs and keep the backs of your knees soft. In your stance right now, the leg muscles are soft. And once again, it's quite a nice educative thing to palpate. So feel the quadriceps soft. You can feel them wiggling on the bone, the backs of the thighs. And then gradually let the muscles switch on so that you can come into a halfway forward bend. And as you do that, for me, the buttocks sliding up the wall. I can really feel where my sitting bones are now. And the leg muscle is beginning to switch on from the front, the quadriceps holding to the bone. And then bring your hands down alongside your, below your knees. Take a good grip onto your lower leg bones, and then lift your chest. As you straighten your arms, lift your chest and feel like your chest is telescoping away from the wall and the lower part of your spine. Keep the navel lifting away from the floor. And you might find that that deepens the fold at the top of your thighs. And if it works for you and you're ready to take a deeper forward bend, then just let yourself drop into that movement, or keep a halfway or 3/4 of the way hold onto your legs. And just before we finish, and we can get the last bit of goodness out of this, reach behind and draw the buttock bones up the wall just a fraction more. That part of the hamstrings that sometimes doesn't get stretched very much. All right, and then start to bend your knees over your ankles. Got the wall behind me, I'll bring my hands back and push off the wall and come up to standing. Good, let's continue our counter posing. So one more floor twist. Come down, lie, and stretch out on your back on the mat. And stretch your legs out too. So you're just lying in one continuous straight line, head and arms and legs. Then bend up your right knee, slide your right foot in towards the buttock, and now wedge your right foot toes underneath the back of your left knee. That left leg is still straight. And when I've done that, my right foot is turned towards my left leg and my left leg rolling out. Now we can bring that right knee over to the left side, just rolling onto the left buttock or the left hip. And maybe you want to help it along by resting your left hand onto your right leg or your right thigh. And extend the right arm out to the right side. Turn your chin towards the right collarbone. Good. Let's stay on that side. So rock up to lifting the right knee again, right foot on the floor, pause. And then you're going to roll over to the left one more time. And then left knee to the left, left hand, left leg, look right. And then let's swap legs. And right leg out. Left leg bent, left foot on the floor. Slide the toes of the left foot underneath the back of the right knee. Let the right leg roll out. And then roll over to the right side. Placing my right hand onto my right thigh or my right knee. Look left, if that feels nice for your neck. Upright, once more. So back in the center. And we're going to do one more of those side stretches. And left knee over to the right. And where is the rotation of the spine for you? Can you feel that somewhat from the upper part of your back? You could lift your right shoulder blade a little bit and bring that more into the dorsal thoracic. Good, and then back up to center. And with the 2 feet on the floor, then time for another hug. Bend one knee in, the other. Hold and link your hands at the front of your knees, if that works for you, and rock a little bit on the back of your sacrum. And then let's take time to come up to a seated position. So rolling over to the side and use your hands to help you come up. I'd like to finish with a slight inversion using the block. And I'm going to use the belt as well, but you don't necessarily need it. So let's say Viparita Karani, legs up, but your sacrum resting on the block. So from the supine position, and once more lying on the mat, legs bent, then lift your hips and place the block underneath the lower part of your back. And I like these days to have it flat, but I suppose you could even have it on the medium range. Actually, if it's flat, it seems like it's plenty, but when you place it, there's always a sweet spot. So especially if this is working for you, you can also alternately use your wall space and just do legs up the wall if that works better. But if you want to stay with me, just play around with it so that when you rest your sacrum on the block, you're in the most comfortable position for that part of your back. For some people it's not comfortable at all. In that case, you might be lying with your legs up the wall. Using the belt, you can link the belt over the ball of the foot and extend the legs up towards the ceiling. In no way am I doing a forward bend here. I'm just going to keep the feet, the knees, the legs directly above my hips. I'm not trying to do a hamstring stretch here. So you could be a little playful here and have your feet together or slightly apart or wider, and if the legs even wider than your hips, your feet wider than your hips. And holding on to the belt like that, then what's it like if you press the outer arches of your feet against the edges of the belt? Can you feel your leg muscles once again? And then as a contrast, relax from that effort and feel the leg muscles release. So it's just important to create release as it is to create the work of the legs. And then let's go back to having the legs close together. And I'll just release the belt completely with my legs in that upright position and hold at the backs of the thighs. And then from there, we're coming into our friend Maria Kirsten used to call this an upside down squat, I think. So if you bend your legs and drop your heels close to your buttocks, the thighs close to your chest, link your hands at the front of the legs. Notice if your sacrum still feels, in the way that you started, relatively easy on the block, or is it uncomfortable at all, in which case come down off the block. Take a couple of deeper breaths, releasing the upper back muscles, releasing the diaphragm, releasing the belly muscles. And then bring your feet down to the floor, slip the block out, and place it to the side. We have a few minutes for our yoga relaxation, so take what you need for that. Your favorite props, maybe a blanket for the back of your head, and eye covering. And if you do have any remaining props near to you, move them out of the way so that your body feels completely free to open. And at this point when you're lying out on your mat, there's really nothing for you to do anymore. But if you like to make a more comfortable position for yourself, you might draw your shoulders down. Tuck your chin down slightly. There's that nice length through the back of your neck. A little distance between your upper arms and your upper ribs. And scan your body from your feet towards your head, releasing various joints, even the toe joints, the ankle bones, all around the knees. The pelvis, at the front, the sides, and the back. Take a few softening exhalations and relaxing the diaphragm. Feel the tiny joints of your fingers relax, your wrists, elbows, and importantly the shoulders. Soften your facial features, especially around the corners of your eyes, the corners of your nose, and the corners of your mouth. So you've given yourself a little time to switch off and to turn off outside stimulation. And if you like, you could stay here for a little while longer. But it's time that we brought the Zoom session to a close. And as I said, stay in Shavasana if you like, and otherwise then it is time to move on and come up gradually. And in our traditional way, we say namaste and thank you all for your practice with me. Thank Daniel for his technical support. Namaste.